folks, this is Dane at Jonah Guitars. Friend of the shop and channel texted me, asked me some questions about neck placement, and that's all we're going to address in this video is neck placement. And it just so happens that he's the guy that I did the video about the Les Paul with the Floyd Rose bridge in it. And it happens that not only is he not using a standard Gibson scale, which is actually where I set the bridge up for. I didn't understand from the beginning that he was not using a Gibson scale neck. He's using Ibanez neck, and I'm guessing it's a 24 fret. I'm guessing it's 25.5 inches. I think Ibanez was just doing the standard Fender scale. But I'm going to explain in this video how to measure an existing neck to find out what the scale length is, and then also how to present that scale length to a guitar that may not have the same scale length. All right, so for instance, this Telecaster would have been a 25.5 inch. This, by the way, is an original 71 thin line Telecaster body, which I happen to have in my, it doesn't belong to me, but I happen to have it in my possession. I'm building a conversion neck for it. And well, you can't see the other end of the neck, but it looks like a Telecaster. Anyway, except for that's not strictly Telecaster. But I'm going to use this body with the other neck to kind of demonstrate how that works. So let me try to stay on task here so that I don't get derailed and make this into too long of a video. First of all, let's take the neck. We can just set the body on the other end of the world for the moment. And so to find out what scale length a particular neck is, you need to measure from the nut, the bridge end of the nut, which in this case is just the end of the fretboard, because this is where the nut was set. And so we're going to go from right there, and then we're going to measure to the center of the 12th fret. And making sure I'm good here. I'm good on the nut end. And I'm measuring a shy 12 5/16, which basically makes this a 24 5/8, or what they call 24 3/4 Gibson scale. Don't ask me why they call it 24 3/4. That's just getting out in the weeds, because most of them, or they'll call this the Gibson 24 3/4 short scale. Anyway, it's basically 24 5/8. So doubling 12 5/16. So if you were to measure a 25.5 inch scale neck, then you would be 12th fret. What's half of 25.5? Now my brain isn't working because the camera's going. So that would be 12.5 would be 25. So 12 3/4 would be 25.5. So that's how you know what your scale length of your neck is. Now, when you know what the scale length of your guitar is, in this case, this is a 25.5 inch scale this way. Let me back up for just a second. You mentioned in a text, David did, that, and he showed me pictures, the body on the Les Paul actually goes straight from the neck pocket into the pickup cavity. Okay, and it looked like it was all the same level in the cavity. So the neck could basically slide into the cavity if need be. This particular guitar did not have this gap. At some point somebody cut this out, so the neck pocket stopped right here. Now this guitar doesn't, or this neck doesn't have rounded corners, so the neck in this case, and I don't have the nut marked on this neck, but this neck would fit right into that radius corner. And if I measured from the nut to the high E string saddle, and I measured the center of that saddle, that would be 25.5 inches. But if I measured it from this neck, inversion neck, gosh, it's heck getting old. So anyway, measure from the nut to here, and that should actually be that 25 and or 24 and 5/8 scale length. Now it's not going to work with this neck. We're just going to put it in here and measure it just so we have a starting point. Okay. So I'm measuring from the end of the fretboard. Measuring from the end of the fretboard, and I'm measuring to this saddle, and I'm actually measuring 25 and 3/8. Okay, but we know that this is a 24 and 5/8, right? So I would have to be able to adjust this neck into here until it reads 24 and 5/8. So five eighths. Got to go out. Okay, so right about there is where the neck would work on this guitar for the scale length. All right. So because this neck wasn't made for this guitar, it's not going to work. Now, I don't have a I do. Pause. All right, so I have a body here that's going to be the short Gibson 24 and 5/8 scale. But I don't have a neck that's the right length to show you what all's going on here. But we'll try to do something that makes sense just so you can understand what's happening. And I'm just going to put an arbitrary line on here and call it my nut line. Well, you know what? I'll just use the end of the truss rod channel. I'm pretty sure that's close to the nut line. And so we're going to assume this is a 25.5-inch neck, although it's not. It's the Gibson neck. So the pocket length and all that matters on how things line up. So it's probably not going to line up just right. Okay, come on. Sorry, I'm kind of just doing this without any real preparation because I wanted to get it done tonight. And hopefully it'll help make sense for you, David. All right, so I'm measuring from the end of that nut to the bridge. And in this particular setup with the guitar neck sitting right up at the joint, I'm looking at 24 and 3/8 pretty much. So the neck needs to go that way. Okay, by 1/4 of an inch. Now that's actually, this is 3 1/4 long on this pocket. So a 3-inch pocket, it would have worked out perfectly on this guitar because this neck is actually set up as a Gibson scale. Now you're wanting a 25.5-inch scale. So what we'll do is we'll go from the high E, we're going to go out 25.5. Now, that's where the neck's placed in this body. Now, in your body, you can do the same thing. You've got your bridge. You can go from your low E, your high E string, and I'm gonna go back to that because there's something I want to tell you about that too, as far as your bridge adjustment goes to set up with. So we're going to go from the high E string saddle, and we're going to go to the nut, and we're going to push this thing out until our tape reads the right scale length. Then you're going to see where the end of your neck needs to set in relationship to your body. Now, it could be, you know, here, right at where the neck is supposed to end, right? But you've got a 24 fret neck. So a 24 fret neck, generally, they don't change the whole body. They change the depth of the neck pocket. And they change the placement of the front pickup. So since your front pickup is set for this other scale, it's probably not going to work out just right. You might have to modify how you go about doing that, whether or not it's eliminating, well, I don't know if you want to carve up your neck, but there's options. You can push the neck into the pickup cavity and eliminate the front pickup, or reroute that pickup cavity so that you can move the pickup back to accommodate where your neck needs to lay. But once you've measured 25.5 from the nut to that high E saddle, that's going to show you where your neck has to sit. All right? There's really no getting around that if you want the thing to play in tune, even a little bit, because you can tune a guitar in the wrong scale length. As soon as you play the next fret, it's going to be out, and it's going to be horribly out. So you want to make sure that you place, you measure that, and you measure it accurately, and then you have room left in your bridge to intonate past that. And I'm going to show you something else real quick about the intonation, just so we're clear on that. This body happens to be the Les Paul Jr. I'm working on right now. It's had its final coat of lacquer on it, and it's waiting a while before it gets sanded out and buffed. All right, so back to the 71 Telecaster. There's no grid on that. Okay, 71 Telecaster. I'm being gentle. All right, so when you look at your E saddle, you make sure that you just have, on your adjustment, make sure that you're basically adjusted all the way toward the nut, and then just a couple turns, or a 1/16 of an inch back. You are never going to have a situation where you intonate a string and this needs to be extended. Okay, so chances are if you set your E string up like that, if it's not exactly on, it's going to need to be tighter or moved back. So you're not going to hurt yourself by adjusting this saddle almost completely out as far as it will go. And then on the saddles that you can actually see the screw coming through, like on this one, you can basically just do a couple turns so you have a couple threads turned out past that saddle, and that gets you in there really well. So some videos you've seen, they tell you to like center the saddle in the travel on the screw. No, you're never going to have to unwind that E string in order to get your intonation correct. You're always going to be okay where it's at, or you're going to need to tighten it. Okay, I think that I touched on everything I needed to touch on to help clarify that for you. And and anybody else that's along for the ride, I hope if you had questions along these lines, that helps you. All right, and why not on this video? Just say, you know what? If you want to put questions in the comments, and I can answer them for you through a short little video like this, I'd be happy to do that. Maybe make a series out of answering your questions. Okay. But for now, David, I hope this helps you out a lot. Appreciate you trusting me, brother. And I should see you in October for the event of the year, right? All right. Take care, brother.